It's Rick and Sasha with George Wilborn. We're talking about the death of George Floyd. This happened in Minneapolis just a couple days ago. A police officer in Minneapolis held his knee on the man's neck while he said he could not breathe.
Well, you got him down, man. Let him breathe, at least, man. I can breathe. I've been trying to help out. So he can breathe a little bit more. Neck, man. One of my homies died. He ran back home. I'm about to die to see. Relax.
Reverend Al Sharpton?
No, this was crazy. And way too often.
Yeah. Now, I was reading about George Floyd, and they said he was loved by his customers and employees alike. He worked long hours, never complained. And, even before the story got out there, people were trying to paint an ugly picture of him, as they always do.
Well, that's, always classic page one they're going to do is go after demonizing the victim. That's always, you expect that's going to happen. And that's the problem.
So from what we know, Rev, these 4 officers have been terminated. Earlier, they were put on administrative leave, and that was turned around, and they're out of there. What do we do now?
I've been in contact all day with Attorney Ben Crump, who's representing the family. We do not know, but it should be made clear that you cannot equate a man losing his life with 4 men losing their job. That doesn't equal. They've got to pay by being charged and losing their freedom.
That's right.
To hold a man down and put your knee on his neck for 7 minutes, and as you listen to the tape, people walking by saying, "Stop, he's hurting, he's saying he can't breathe," and the policemen don't even say to their other officer, "Get up, he can't breathe," shows why all of them ought to be prosecuted.
Right.
All of them. Because there's no way. The people showed more humanity and more consideration for the law than the officers involved. And I don't care what they try to say they investigated Floyd for, they cannot be the judge, jury, and executioner. You cannot have that.
Reverend Al Sharpton, how important is it for people across the country to call the DA, Mike Freeman, and say, we want an arrest, we want a charge? Is that important for us to do right now?
That's a great question, because most people think if they do something, nothing will happen. Reverend, we want you to answer that question when we come back. It's Rick and Sasha with George Wilborn. It's Rick and Sasha with George Wilborn, and we're talking about George Floyd, a man who lied on the ground helplessly with a police officer's foot to his neck as he lied there dying, saying, "I can't breathe."
Well, you got him down, man. Let him breathe, at least, man. I can breathe. I've been trying to help out. So he can breathe a little bit more. Neck, man. One of my homies died. He ran back home. I'm about to die to see. Relax.
Reverend Al Sharpton, how important is it for people across the country to call the DA, Mike Freeman, and say, we want an arrest, we want a charge? Is that important for us to do right now?
It is extremely important. They need to be overwhelmed with calls and emails and to know that the nation is looking at them, and we must sustain it. What they will do is they will figure that there'll be some protests for 2 or 3 days, and they'll calm down, they'll go away. We've got to sustain it. They feel that you've got the Brunswick case with Ahmaud Arbery and the Louisville, Kentucky case with Miss Taylor. So they'll go away. They'll get into them cases. We've got to say, no, we're not going away. We fought the Eric Garner case and the Michael Brown case at the same time. We can do this. We must do this because we're fighting for ourselves.
Right. Initially, the first thing I thought of was the Eric Garner case. The man said, "I can't breathe." You would think that they would have some type of training. They would have seen the video, and that would have struck something. Okay, we've been here before.
The reason that you're exactly right, first of all, that it was exactly as Eric Garner, and I intend to bring Eric Garner's family down to Minneapolis with me to meet with the family when Attorney Crump says that that's what he wants to do over the next couple of days. But the reason that it didn't teach him anything is because you saw the tape, but you didn't see the Eric Garner's cops go to jail. If they'd gone to jail,
Right.
then police would understand that they're going to pay a price. How do you deter crime in the community? You perk walk criminals. When you start perk walking criminal cops, other cops will understand I'm not going to get away with this.
You know, Reverend, now this is just sickening to me. When Rick called me and told me and sent me the video, I could only watch 1 minute of it. I couldn't watch anymore. I'm just so disgusted. And, you know, it seems like racism, it seems like the KKK is still alive and well. We're seeing it in our police departments, in our politics, in our judicial system, as well as in our financial institutions. This is just, I'm at a loss for words as to how we continue to sound the alarm. And an alarm has got to be something more than an alarm that we do.
Well, I think you're right, George. And when you look at the fact that we're in the middle of a pandemic where we're disproportionately dying and disproportionately found positive and disproportionately not getting the stimulus money, and you've got these incidents now from Louisville to Brunswick, Georgia, now Minneapolis. Racism does not stop even for a pandemic, but we've got to be tough enough to fight. And we've got to put prosecutors in office that are going to prosecute. I know the anger is going to be there. I'm angry. All of us are angry. But what they want is somebody to explode so then they can use that to run Trump again, saying bring back law and order. We need to be strategic and angry at the same time. We need to put the real prosecutors in office that will prosecute these cases.
And you can never get anything done on the local level. We need to go federal, and we're going to talk about that next. It's Rick and Sasha with George Wilborn. We're talking to Reverend Al Sharpton about the murder of George Floyd by a police officer in Minneapolis. It's Rick and Sasha with George Wilborn. It's Rick and Sasha with George Wilborn. We're talking about the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis. A police officer had his foot to the man's neck while he pleaded for his life, saying, "I cannot breathe." People stood by. They couldn't do anything but videotape this. And this is the one thing that had those police officers fired. But listening to this man and watching this video, it was heartbreaking.
Well, you got him down, man. Let him breathe, at least, man. I can't breathe. I've been trying to help out. So he can breathe a little bit more. Neck, man. One of my homies died. He went back home. I'm about to die to see. Relax.
Reverend Al, it seems like this needs to make a change at the federal level. How do everyday citizens change legislation to change the law on the federal level?
You got to put in federal office holders, like the case in Louisville of Miss Taylor killed in her own house. They come in with a no-knock law, and they shoot 20 times after her boyfriend legally shoots at them thinking they're getting broken into. Well, if people voted there and put McConnell out, there's a race right now where Senator McConnell could go. You could bring in new judges. He's the big block in the Senate as the majority leader. We cannot change anything on federal level without new senators and without a new White House who would nominate a new president who would nominate federal judges to change the law. Let me give you a little secret. We can be as angry as we want to be. They don't care if we're angry. In fact, I think they enjoy when we get angry. They care when we get powerful, and we need to take the power. We need to have our anger and our outrage charge our drive to be in power.
Right. I think about some of the things that you've done, Rev, when it came, for one, the Amadou Diallo case, when they took that trial from New York to Albany, and they didn't think that you all would galvanize and go there. We need that same type of energy. I mean, that's nothing to you because you've gone across the world. How do you get people to just have that same energy when it comes to standing up for what we need?
We got to let people understand that they didn't know Floyd, they didn't know Taylor, they didn't know Arbery. It could have been you. And these people were not activists. These people were not leaders in the community. They were blacks that they felt they could get away with it. And if everybody looks at it, that if it could be me or my loved one, I better fight now because it'll be me next. That's how people need to understand. This is personal. And if you don't look at it personally, you might be the next person.
Wow.
Reverend Al, when we talk about the celebrities, people of influence and politics and business, how we can pull together, how do we get on board with you and pull in these people to make a change?
Well, you know it frustrates us because that's what we do every day. We just have to come together and do on every platform. You that have media, those celebrities that have celebrity, everybody's got to press together. We are not disagreeable, we're just disconnected. And if all of us would blend in and demand justice and, again, use this to rally people to put people in the prosecutor's office. Do you know how many people listening to y'all don't even know who their prosecutor is?
Right.
And he or she is elected. We need to be able to not just vote for president, but the local prosecutors all the way up to the Senate. Otherwise, we're going to keep going through this because it's going to be the same people that will not enforce the laws that are on the books.
Reverend Al Sharpton, thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all.
All right, thanks so much.
Thank
George.
you.
Okay.
Thanks, Rev.
He said even George.
Thanks, Rev.
All right.
Okay, bye. On the legal level, what needs to happen to these police officers in the murder of George Floyd? We're going to talk to the truth fighter, attorney Warren Ballantyne next. Don't move. It's Rick and Sasha with George Wilbur. It's Rick and Sasha with George Wilborn, and we're talking about George Floyd, the man who was killed in Minneapolis as a police officer's knee was on his neck as he pled for his life, saying, "I cannot breathe." The man died on the spot. On the phone with us right now is the truth fighter, attorney Warren Ballantyne. Warren, talk to us.
Not only should the police be fired, they should be criminally charged. They should lose all benefits, pension, retirement, 401k, all that should be wiped out. And the reason why is because if you hit them in their pockets, then they will stop doing this because they have a strong union. They're always going to take the position that they're taking, and this union is going to fight for them because that's the union's job. And they're going to fight and say, look, you know, even though you saw this part of the video, he feared for his life in the beginning. That's why he kept his knee on him. He wouldn't have done it if he hadn't feared for his life. And under the law, under the statutes, if somebody fears for their life, you have a right to protect yourself, even if it's violent and somebody dies. So this is going to be the argument from the police department and everything else. And then you got to understand that part of the reason that we need to take the benefits and everything else away is because it's a deterrent. But not only is it a deterrent, it makes these white sympathizers and other sympathizers who give money to these people to say, wait a minute, if they're losing everything, maybe they did do something they weren't supposed to do. Because, see, that's the way the media, the perception becomes a reality. Even if the person is innocent, if you can put the right stuff out there about them, they'll look guilty. And so if you put out that these cops are losing all this stuff because of what they did, that automatically makes people say, oh, they must have did this. Right. They must have done something wrong. Right now, people aren't taking that position because they're the police. Well, they're the police. They got a right to protect themselves. And even though they were fired, they feared for their life. We need to send some money to help that poor cop out. That's the way they think. But if you take the benefits away, then they think a different way. Oh, he must have done it because they wouldn't be taking his stuff away if he hadn't done it. You know, he would have kept his stuff. So it's almost like we need to create a pressure point to make these cops understand if you do something that's beyond the pale, beyond the scope of what a regular cop would do, you are not only going to get fired, you also be looking at the time of going to jail, but you will lose automatically all of your benefits, and there's no reinstatement of the benefits. If they do that, that'll stop a lot of these cops from doing the things that they're doing and treating people the way that they're treating. It has to be a effort by the local officials to say, we are not going to have cops who are going to be doing this. It's going to be zero tolerance. If you get caught doing anything like this, anything racial, any kind of stereotyping, any kind of type of profiling, you're fired, all your benefits are removed in the subject. If they do that, all this will stop.
That's a truth fighter, y'all. Attorney Warren Ballantyne. Thank you, brother.
Thanks,
we appreciate
man.
you, man.
Thanks, Warren.
All right.
Everybody